Good afternoon folks, welcome to Visordown. My name is Toad and today we are in Sardinia where we have been sampling Yamaha's new 2023 Tracer 9 GT Plus. So if you've been watching Visordown recently or following us on social media, you'll be aware that we've been in Sardinia for a two-bike head-to-head launch. So we've also been riding the Niken GT and also the Tracer 9 GT Plus. So if you want to check out the Niken video, head over to the other videos on our channel and check that out. If you want to read a review, get yourself over to visordown.com. This video though is solely focusing on the new GT Plus, which really is the flagship of the Yamaha sports touring range. There is still the standard GT which is available to UK punters. So the GT comes in at £13,110, including on-the-road charges, and the GT Plus, which is this bike that you can see before me, is £14,910. They both get the same semi-active electronic KYB suspension system. That is all the same. They both get the same TFT. The big change with this bike really is it gets another set of, like an extra layer of technology on top of that. So we've got an adaptive cruise control system, which is obviously metering the distance to the car in front and maintaining a set distance for you. And this also gets the updated seat, it gets a slightly different screen, and you also get another piece of tech, which is an electronically adjusted unified braking system, which has got this sort of braking assist feature built into it. I'm going to go over it in a bit more detail, so don't worry. I'm going to start with the engine because we've ridden two very similar bikes, although they are also very different, in the Niken and the Tracer 9 GT. And what was interesting for me was how different those two engines felt in each of the models. The Niken yesterday is obviously a much heavier bike, getting on for 270 kilograms. In that bike, it's got a different airbox, it's got a revised mapping, and it's also got a heavier crank. In this, the Tracer 9 GT Plus, it felt much sportier. It felt much freer. It was much happier to spin up, and it was a much more pleasurable unit to ride out on these twisty Sardinian roads. It's got 119 PS, which comes out about 116, 117 brake horsepower there or thereabouts. You've got 69 pound-foot of torque. And like every other CP3 engine in the range that since day dot basically, you've got such a really lovely juicy spread of mid-range torque. It makes such swift work of overtakes, third gear overtakes that are just in a blink of an eye. You don't even need to think about them. And then you get that sporty rush to the red line that is just so addictive, and the induction howl from that. The exhausts on this are the same as the MT-09, so they face down towards the floor, so they kind of reverberate up into your eardrums when you're canting the bike over into a corner. It's just a really pleasurable thing to ride. Like the Niken that we rode yesterday, the throttle connection on this is good. I would say in sport mode, which is the sort of the sportiest of all the riding modes that you've got on offer, it can be a little bit snatchy on some of the slower hairpins that we're riding today. So if you're doing anything than getting the absolute hammer down, you're probably going to find it a little bit more comfortable to ride it in the street mode, which gives you exactly the same peak power and the same torque delivery and all of that good stuff. It just makes that throttle connection just a tiny bit smoother. I'm going to talk about the handling of the bike, but really that's not what it's about. I can confirm that this is still the most engaging of all of the long-legged sub-1000cc sport touring motorcycles that you can go out and buy. It's just, it puts a smile on your face, and it does it in such a way. It's like a slightly more grown-up, slightly more capable and slightly more comfortable MT-09, which is a really enthralling bike. This bike though, I feel, especially the GT Plus, it is all about the technology. I mean, there was a time a few years ago when it was the sports bikes in manufacturers' ranges that were getting all of the best tech and they were getting all the best gadgets and all the best toys. That has changed, and this thing is absolutely dripping in tech with probably more stuff on it than any other bike in the marketplace. I'm going to go through it all in detail now, but there is so much to cover. I'm going to do it with a voiceover because I need to just make sure that I'm getting all of this absolutely right. And having just got off the bike about 10 minutes ago and scribbled down some random notes on this piece of paper, I'm not sure I can do that now. So here we go. So the Yamaha Tracer 9 GT Plus and its never-ending stream of electronic goodies. The story starts with the standard stuff. IMU controlling the ABS, the traction control, slide control and lift control. You also get a new and improved 3rd gen quick shifter, and it's very, very good. There is also a new TFT, obviously, and the cornering lights as well, but from there everything gets a little bit more complex. The radar assisted cruise control is new on the model, and it's new in the segment. As far as we can tell, there isn't another bike in the sub 1000cc adventure touring class that gets it. Linked to that is a Bosch made millimeter wave radar that gauges the distance to the vehicle in front of you. Linked to this, there is a new unified braking system. This is a really trick feature that can meter the braking force between the two wheels for a more controlled and better deceleration. It can also, if you've got brake control turned on, detect if you are too close to hitting the vehicle in front, and it can apply some extra braking pressure through the system. The unified brakes can also slow the bike to keep you safe distance from the vehicle in front when using the normal radar assisted cruise control, so it won't just roll off the throttle like some other bikes do. Yamaha is keen to point out that this isn't a crash avoidance system, and that the bike will only activate and intervene if the rider is already applying braking pressure. Next up, we've got KYB electronic suspension. On the GT Plus, this talks to the radar cruise control and helps to balance the bike while it's decelerating. I think the idea of this is that it's trying to cut out any of the annoying helmet banging incidents that can happen when the bike slows down of its own accord. So overall, this is a very comprehensive suite of technology, and one that no other sub 1000cc adventure sports tourer can match, and not many of the bigger bikes either. So these things, the Niken is a super popular bike in the UK, in Europe and further afield. You see them everywhere, and one of the things that people love about it is the fact that you've got the kind of the sporty handling dynamics of some of the lighter middleweight naked bikes mated to a much more comfortable place to be for longer distance riding. I've got to talk about the comfort then, and the riding position of this, I found it to be very good. There isn't much that's changed from the previous generation Tracer 9 or Tracer 9 GT. It's all very much the same in terms of seat to peg distance, the seat height, the handlebar positioning and all the rest of it. I did find the seat a little bit firm. The padding isn't super plush, and the sides of the seat down here, they kind of end a little bit abruptly. It almost feels like it could do with just a tiny bit more contour just to make longer distance riding a little bit more comfortable. My right knee was a little bit achy. I don't know if I'm putting that down to the fact that I've had 2 quite long days on the bike, or if it was just this particular bike that was making that happen, but it's well worth a mention. There is an upgraded an accessory comfort pack seat that you can buy and fit to the bike, which would obviously transform the seat comfort of the Tracer 9. One thing this bike has also got is a slightly different screen to the base model Tracer. So you've got the Tracer 9, you've got the Tracer 9 GT, you've got the Tracer 9 GT Plus. The base model Tracer 9 doesn't get this sort of larger, slightly taller screen. It is adjustable. On its highest setting, you get a little bit of respite from the buffeting. It's not phenomenal. I mean, it's not a hugely all-encompassing screen, but Yamaha have been honest and said, look, it is a sporty touring bike and we don't want to put a massive screen on it because that's not what our customers really want. I can understand why they've done it. If you are any taller than me, you are going to probably need to get the accessory taller screen or even the wind deflector if you are really tall, just to get some respite when you're on long distance rides. Overall though, for the way that the bike handles and the way that you can throw this thing around the road and just raise the hairs on the back of your neck when you're riding it, the comfort's actually pretty good, because the only other bikes that you can do that on are super nakeds and sports bikes. I'm going to go through the verdict. So in my mind, this is still probably the best handling and the most entertaining of all of these long-legged sort of sporty touring motorcycles, adventure cross motorcycles if you want, out there. It really does feel like it's got everything. You could take it out on a sunny Sunday afternoon and play with your mates who've got 1000cc sports bikes and you wouldn't be embarrassed. You could cross a continent on it, you could hack to work on it, you could put it full of luggage and take a person on the back and go and cover some big miles on it. And it's got that massive all-round package. It's got good range. I think we were probably looking tank range around about 170 to 200 miles, which is pretty good if you ride it conservatively. And then you look at the spec of it and you look at the price of it, and there is actually a lot of value for money here. You're getting a lot of motorcycle for your money. Comparing it to the bigger adventure bikes in the class, so the over 1000cc adventure bikes, there are bits of tech on this thing that I mentioned earlier on in my voiceover that they don't yet have. And I think it's going to take other manufacturers quite a bit of time to catch up with Yamaha on that front at least. Listen, I've been told I've waffled on for far too long, but if you like that video, please drop a comment, hit like and subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date with all of our latest videos. And for all the latest news, reviews and motorcycle features, get yourself over to Visordown.com. Thank you, folks.